Hey there, brothers. Welcome to another episode here in Cracking the Feminine Code section of the Good Guys to Great Men website. Here with us, we have Shana James and Dr. Alexis Shepperd here to have an amazing conversation about sex and sexuality. Today's topic, we decided we wanted to represent the brotherhood. We wanted to dive into the yeah buts. Yeah, but whenever we give advice to a guy, we give him some guidance or direction or a little insight on what to think about his relationship and his sex life. He always says, I get it. But, yeah, but. So Dan and I are going to represent you. We're going to represent you with the yeah, buts in 5 specific areas where we always hear, I get it, but. And we're going to ask the ladies to give us some insight, some wisdom, some calm guidance, and maybe some reassurance and hope that all is not lost when you come up with the yeah, but. How's that sound? Guys ready to get started?
Sounds great, but...
but I have to pee. Oh man! So I'm going to be referring to her.
Oh wait! It sounds great, but I'm not in the mood. Or how about all those other buts that women give?
I'm not in the mood. Fantastic. Well, I'm going to kick it off with the scenario here is when we're coaching a guy, ladies. And when we're talking to you and we watch some of your other videos, we'll hear things that sound like, all she wants to feel is your strength. She wants to feel that you're good with you. And she wants to feel your consistency and who you know yourself to be. And she wants to feel your confidence. And she wants to feel your sexual leadership without being domineering. And the guy goes, okay. I get it. I get it. Now, before we go into the yeah, but what in this realm of the subject, does that sound correct? That that's what you really want to feel? What else would you add to that? That all you want is blank before you feel sexy. What else might you add to that?
I could answer that so many ways because in one way, what do we want? We want everything. Are you kidding me? We want, where does it end? We want everything. We want your strength and your vulnerability and your turn on and no pressure and some pressure all at the same time.
No, I love that. No pressure and some pressure.
Oh, man. What about you, Shana?
Well, did you want to say more, Alexis?
Well, and also just to say, this is one great thing about for Shana and I, having worked with so many women, over the years, if we were talking to women also, our turn on is not dependent on any one of those things.
Yeah.
And it's not like there are a set of prerequisites that need to be in place for a woman to open up and be turned on and be available for sex. That is in her, that is up to her. But since we are talking to men, so right. I just want to say that it's not like there is a formula. And if you just get all these things in place, then she'll be ready. It is never like that with any human being, but especially the feminine. And so women can access their turn on anytime, no matter what. But for men, getting that both of those things are true, then what do you do?
Right.
But we want and need everything, and there is no right formula.
It sounds.
And there are things that are really helpful, though, right? It's like, yeah, there are things that are helpful for us, like when you're not, when you're not completely dependent on us to feel good about yourself, or right. There's a couple of things I'm sure we'll go into many of them as we go, but. Right. It's like one of the things that you often say, Steve, that I love, and Dan too, is like, when a man comes from that place of being the mountain lion, right, rather than the hummingbird, or that place where he's grounded in himself, he comes off differently. He comes off, rather than trying to get something from us, he's actually connecting with us and bringing something to us. So I don't know, I feel like there's so much to go into, but maybe it'd be better just to dive into the yeah buts.
Well, that was perfect, because that's the way I've always heard you talk about it. It makes so much sense, but for some of us, and here I'll start, Dan, it sounds almost unattainable. Right. It sounds so unreasonable for me to be so perfect all the time that if the planets don't freaking align just right and the window of opportunity stays open just long enough, and I know when to strike, I know when to, and it feels like I have to do all the freaking work. I'm the only one paying attention, and she's the one with all the cards.
Right, and
she never
gets to just kind of flit around and do whatever she wants while you have to do everything.
And I'm the one who risks getting rejected all the time because I'm starting to think it's not even worth the risk. Why should I risk getting rejected if I feel like I'm the one doing all the work?
Yeah.
See, how did I do, Dan? Did I represent the brotherhood?
You did
That was
great.
good. Yeah.
Alexis,
So
you want
tell
to
me.
start or you want me to start?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is it isn't all up to you as the man, except you are the only one that you have any say so about. So if you can either whine about the fact of what your partner, your wife, your girlfriend is doing or not doing, or you can show up and give it your all. That's really all any of us have. So, and again, if I were talking to women, I would be saying the same thing.
Totally. We talk to women all the time about how like there's a complaint and a desire are actually two opposite sides of the coin. And depending on how you bring that to a man, we often say, right, like is going to really determine how he responds. And the more you complain and the more you nag and the more you tell him what you don't like and the more you're like, why isn't this happening? Right? He, a man in this case, is going to just be like, ugh, this is not inspiring. Right? Whereas if it's like, oh, I really want this and your heart is more open, right? It's a little different with the masculine, but you know, then it's more exciting and inspiring. So I agree with Alexis, right? It's like, okay, I don't want men to ever think that they have to be perfect all the time, or there's like something that they have to just get right. Or like you said, like all the planets have to align, but there's such a, I don't know. I often think of how men think about like in the moment, what am I supposed to do? And sometimes we need to back up, right? Like, are you even having conversations with your wife about anything emotional or anything sexual, or like how is your relationship going, right? Because if you're trying to get sexual on top of all kinds of shit and tension, right? Like it usually doesn't go well. So I like that perspective too of like, can I back up and look at what's going on here before I'm trying to like penetrate? You know?
Yeah. Dan and I were talking the deck of cards. A deck of cards is 52 if you don't count the jokers. And a lot of us believe that the entire deck, if you flip every card, it's a different facet of sexuality, whether
Really?
it's a hug and a kiss. And we think that you keep it in your back pocket and it's still in cellophane and you have total control over that 52 card deck. And I try to tell men, why do you even believe that? Do you not believe that you also have a deck of cards?
Right.
That the key. And so I'm wondering, what are the cards if you said that's not true, she doesn't have all the cards. You have cards. You just don't know it. What are cards that men have that they could flip? What would those be?
I think that's a great one. Go ahead.
You start.
Well, I mean, I was just thinking too about, you know, for women especially, maybe for any human, but for women especially, sex doesn't tend to start right in the bedroom. And so one of the cards, I think, is kind of sparking, you know, playfulness. And playfulness could be, you know, teasing sexuality. And it also could be the playfulness of not totally allowing her emotions or her moods to take you down. Right. So both of those can be happening or like sprinkled throughout a day or a week or whenever you're actually wanting sex. There is that card of like, okay, how am I connecting to her ahead of time? And what thoughts am I kind of putting into her mind? Or what, you know, what am I bringing? What emotions am I bringing into the room? Like if I'm walking into the room and I'm bringing like exhausted, depleted, defeated, you know, disappointed and all of that, right? Like she actually can feel that. So, you know, there are these cards of, okay, what's happening inside of you? As Alexis said, you're the only one you actually have any control over, right? But once you shift that inside, and I feel like I'm saying the same thing over again. So, you can hear what Alexis has to say, right? But then, you know, we actually start to, like a tuning fork, start to align with your insides.
I heard you talking about Dan. She's talking about the Joker card, isn't she? The Joker.
I was
Joker
thinking
he's fun, he's mysterious, he's playful, but he's also cocky. He's kind of confident, and he doesn't, you know, he's just that guy who brings the energy of lightheartedness and safety, right?
Yeah.
And
Safety. We should talk about
Yeah.
safety at some point too.
Okay. Alexis?
But even this metaphor of like, what cards do you have? Like you're playing a game and somebody's got more power than the other person. And so wait a minute, which are there's such scarcity there. Like she's got more power. And so either I'm going to submit to her or I'm going to resent her or I'm going to try and get some cards. So I've got some power. And it's like, oh, she's just another human being. And if she's not wanting to have sex right now, I guarantee it's not because she's wanting to toy with you or something. That's, I mean, who knows? We all, we're not always our best selves, but when a woman is really happy, she wants to have sex. So I guarantee if she is saying no, it's not because she's got so many cards that she wants to play and you have no power. That's just a false supposition.
Perfect.
I like that, right? Like when women, it's not like, okay, if a woman's happy, she's always going to want to have sex, but right, the happier we are, the more relaxed we are, the more our turn on just naturally also arises. So I think that's why we keep going back to all of these, right, ideas of, power over versus.
Yeah. I love the idea that it's not a game. While we talk about being playful, we're not talking about playing games of manipulation, coercion. But it sounds like the bottom line in this one, before we move on to the next one, is that if you think that she has all the power, you're living in the wrong mindset. She thinks you have all the power, right? And isn't that a mind screw? She thinks you're the one with all the cards. If you would just pull them out and play along in a way that she can trust and feel good about. And so, yeah, your power is in lightening up and taking the laser focus off the penetration and learn about playfulness, all day foreplay, right?
All day foreplay. I like that.
Like in the card game, at any point you can get the card that enables you to win the game, right? At any point, things can suddenly change and you can have a connection that means that sex is just around the corner.
Yeah, I think that too, there's like this sense that if we head in this direction and we go straight, this way, and the faster we go, the faster we're going to get to sex. And I think we as women are just so not like that. I've seen diagrams of how like men think in straight lines, and with women, it's like all over the place. And that can be confusing too, but there is a way, and scary, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen and how am I going to navigate this? But there is a way, like I think of confidence as not just, I know how to do something, but I trust myself to meet, the moment or the person and whatever's showing up here, and to stay together in it. Kind of like you were saying, Alexis, like, if we're taking this as a power game, it's really different than if we're actually, together, loving each other, wanting something for each other.
Thanks. Let's go on to number 2. Dan, you can do I'll describe the requirement, and Dan, you can describe our typical response, our but to this. And this is the case where we're teaching, all she wants to feel is your desire for her. And he thinks he hears horniness. No, but your desire for her, your adoration of her, and for her to feel that you get her, you get who she is in order to open up to you sexually. That's all you need to do. What's the but there, Dan?
So the but is, but she says that all I ever think about is sex. I've got a one-track mind. I'm very attracted to her, and she thinks I'm a pervert for making sexual comments. So how the hell am I supposed to convince her that what I really want is her willingness to be close, for companionship, affection, and to just connect? Who wants to go with that one?
But
I love the convince. How can I convince her that what I really want is, right? Rather than being that, like being affectionate and being connected. I just have a funny story too, that I had a client who was so worried about being perverted. And he had this story from when he was young that, he was like, well, then everybody would think I was a pervert. And I said, do you mean in a bad way? And he just started laughing, and it just brought so much more lightness to the whole thing, right? It's like, if I can hold that, whatever my wife says about me, if she's going to think I'm a pervert, okay, she might think I'm a pervert. Like maybe there, we can like bringing that playfulness back is also really helpful. And I was just thinking about like how when in working with men, it's just, and again, all humans, it's like we can't see our own blind spots. And so some men come in, right, trying to convince or so heady about having sex that it's all like this intellectual discussion, or some men are using humor and then they actually aren't, connected in their hearts. And so I think that's why sometimes these questions are so hard to answer. And when men sit in front of us, we can really play with that. Like, oh, this is what's happening, or this is what you're doing that you don't see. Right.
But to be more, maybe I'm going to be your client for just a second. The truth is that while we have a throbbing blue vein of desire, right? We all know that. We're all 18-year-olds at heart. There is an emptiness, a throbbing emptiness of wanting to be seen as a good man, as a good person, to be touched and to be adored and to be appreciated for what we bring, and to feel safe. Now, there's a throbbing blue vein of that as well, a craving for that. And when we get called a pervert or told all you ever think about is sex, it's like, you don't even get it, right?
Yeah.
How do you help a guy?
I mean, I would go back to having that conversation, right? Like that if the conversations are going like that she's calling him a pervert and he's like, you just don't get it. Like there's something, there's a missing, right? Like I want them to be able to go back. And first of all, I want to help a man understand, like, there is nothing wrong with me, right? With him. And if you're still looking for validation from the outside, then that's where you're going to get, all messed up. And so first we really work on that. And then I think I'm curious, Alexis, what you have to say, but then there's something about like, how are we asking for what we want and how are we communicating? And am I just saying like, man, I can't believe this isn't happening. Like, what's wrong with you? Or even something a little gentler, but it's still kind of critical or bitter, right? Then it's not going to happen.
Thanks.
When you said that, Steve, but it's so easy. I mean, the immediate thing that came up was compassion. And I just think about how much shame people have around sexuality and men have around their sexuality, or even just wanting to be seen as the good person, the good man that they are. It's interesting though in the feminine. So, there's that kind of classic thing that has not been good for women about, the mother versus whore kind of complex, and where really as the feminine, we are all of that. We are sexual beings and we're the nurturing beings. But when a man comes to me in pain in some way about who he is as a man, if I'm open and available for it, what will come up in me is care. But what won't come up in me is a desire to have sex with him. Because it's initiating that I don't want to have sex with someone who needs something from me. And that's not a way of shaming that. It's just like, oh, if you're hurting, what I want to do is, if I have room, if I'm not overwhelmed by my own life and concerns, what I want to do is show up and care about you. I don't want to surrender my body to you and get freaky with you.
That's great. That quote, if we have subtitles to this later or bullets, I don't want to have sex with someone who needs something from me. I heard that loud and clear in big neon letters. Did you? You too, right, Dan? And so, and this is in the men's coaching where we get to that quotation and guys go, what the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah.
Don't we all have needs? Aren't we allowed to have needs?
I was going to say too, right? That gets confusing because we do have needs and it's okay to need something. And it might not, right? That's not the moment when the sexual desire, the turn on is going to arise.
Right. Yeah. So, but that again points back to that seriousness versus play. or it feels like that to me. It points back to that, you know,
Yeah.
because if I bring something to you seriously, then actually I do kind of need it to be addressed seriously.
Right. And sometimes I wonder too, like, yeah, sort of like if men aren't taking their needs seriously enough, like if you're bitter and angry and resentful, there's a way of sort of, I don't know how to say this, but it's like, if you're taking it seriously, then you're having conversations like where there's, you know, there's a vulnerability, and there's a sense of like, this is something I really need, right? Like I do need something. I do need to have this connection with you. I do need to have a sex life with you. So that's separate from what Alexis is saying, right? In the moment, like if you need me to love yourself, if you need me to tell me you're not a pervert, if you need me for those kind of things, right? That's different than like the needs that we have together, to be connected or to be loving with each other.
And I want a man to bring his needs, even if it's a need to know that he's a good man. I want him to bring that. It just won't be the moment. So a relationship needs that, but that won't be the moment when I want to get freaky with him. It'll be the moment when I want to listen and I want to care about what's happening.
Yeah.
But like Shana said, anytime there's resentment, that's a sign that either you're doing something you don't want to do, or you have needs that you haven't addressed and you're trying to get them met sideways, and you're angry that I'm not meeting them, even though you haven't told me, and that definitely makes me not want to have sex with you.
Yeah.
So just tell me what you're hurting about. Tell me what you need, and I will be with you in that. And then in some other moment, maybe 5 seconds later, maybe a week later, then bring your pervert and don't apologize for it. Even if I think you're a pervert, don't apologize for it. Let me think you're a pervert, and
we can introduce
I
our two
guarantee
perverts.
it will melt me. Yes, exactly, because I guarantee I'm a pervert too.
Right. I'm thinking too about the men who you guys talk about who, like, you know, their wives aren't there and they aren't loving them, or they aren't having that conversation. And again, just going back to what Alexis said, it's like, and right, instead of yeah, but it's like, and the only way to then actually move forward with a woman, like if those conversations aren't happening, is to really get real and to get honest and to get, and not from resentment or bitterness though, right? To bring that need from that deeper place. I think that's the only way that then we actually start moving toward sex.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is where there's a vacuum of compassion, empathy, and emotional safety, which is why we invite men into our community, because you get all of that in spades, and you get to talk about how it feels to not have that in front of a woman who's holding it from you because she's afraid. Yeah. And how to stand up stronger in that, knowing that she's not doing that to you. What she's protecting is herself right there. And how do you stand strong and allow her to protect herself and not be afraid of that? And then how that can lead to trust and emotional safety and later intimacy. Yeah. There's a patience in it that
there is a patience. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Because I can see that it's like, from what you've said, some of the guys are like, but this isn't happening and it hasn't happened for so long. So now I want it to happen now. And that's like one of the fastest ways to shut a woman down, is like, I need this now. You know, this has to happen.
Yeah. We're going to steal quotes from this from you guys. We'll credit you properly. Never fear. Thank you. That was great. Third question, and this comes from a lot of guidance you read in books all the time. And even women will say, you want more sex? Try picking up a fucking vacuum cleaner, right? Right? I want to feel helped. I want to feel like I don't have to do everything. I feel like everything is on me. So she wants to feel supported. She wants to feel like there's teamwork. She wants to feel a partnership. She wants to feel less overwhelmed so she can finally relax and feel sexy again. And then we'll tell that to a guy who, for many reasons, has been trying for months. He's been buying roses. He's been drawing baths. He does all the laundry. He's doing taking kids to school every single day. And he's been jumping through hoop after hoop after hoop. And he says, I help with everything. Sometimes way more than my fair share. And she still seems to prioritize everything, like her job, the kids, friends, family, above our intimate relationship. And it seems like I can That's great.
You will never be able to do enough to earn a woman's attention. And as long as you think you have to earn it, it will not be compelling. And it will not have me open up as long as you're trying to earn something from me. Again, like I have the power and I can grant it to you.
Mm-hmm. Can you say more about that? I know you were just dying to get that out, and I was just fist pump. Yeah. First, no, that earning a woman's attention is not a thing, right? So if that's not a thing, what is the thing, Alexis?
The thing. I mean, so she's not like and as women, we don't want to help her. We don't want, because then it feels like another child. We don't want the man to help us with everything. So then we'll finally give him something else, like a child. Like, oh, if you just help us enough with all the chores of the house, then we'll give you sex and affection.
Or a lollipop.
Yeah, exactly. But I think one thing that is good for men to get is with the feminine, control versus surrender, and how enormous those are. And most women aren't even tracking that. But everything that has to get done, whether it's with the house and kids and everything that has to go to make life run, there is part of her brain tracking that, and part of her that is anxious and scared of being out of control and feels like it's all on her, and that somehow it reflects on who she is as a person, as a woman, as a wife, as a mother, and is like, if she is not used to letting go and surrendering, some part of her is waiting until everything is done before she lets go. Only the thing is, there will never come a time when everything is done.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. Part of it is, if she's got too much on her plate, she won't be able to let go because there's a lot of stuff to do. So just getting that. But part of it for a man to get is, women are walking around tracking everything and scared of being out of control. And waiting for everything to be done, only that time will never come. So don't wait for that to help her switch from being in control to letting go with you.
I love that, right? Not waiting for that. What are you going to say, Dan?
I was just going to say, it points towards, oftentimes I think guys will ask questions, try and ask questions to kind of feel out the ground, see whether it's a good time, versus making invitations, creating some kind of opportunity to connect in some way.
Yeah, right. And it also just speaks to me what you said, Alexis, that like a lot of times that the wanting to feel supported, like some men are doing all those things, right? Those men tend to identify more as pleasers, or like, I'm helping, I'm doing the thing, but they may not be emotionally supportive, right? Because all the things, as women are walking around tracking all those things and being afraid to let go of control, there's an emotional aspect to that as well. So, a lot of women end up wanting to get divorced because their husbands think, oh, I'm doing the right thing. I'm working, I'm making money, I'm helping with the kids, and she's just like, but I'm alone. Like, where are you? You're not even here with me. So I think that can get confusing too. And for some men, they're doing one thing and other men are doing another thing. And yet, right. So if you're constantly focused on what to do, but you're not focused on, how you're being, or whether you've actually like looked into each other's eyes and said like, I care about you, or I love you, or any of that, then, right, she's going to be not only tracking all the things to do, still not letting go because there is no earning a woman's attention, but then she's also going to be feeling this like alone emptiness inside of her.
Let's close on this one. There's one quote I hear a lot from women, and that is, when it comes to chores and helping around the house, it's not that I want him to do stuff for me. I want him to want to do those things. And it sounds very simple, but to unpack that takes a long time for a guy to understand the difference between doing and being. She wants him to be the kind of partner in her life who wants to do those things. So he doesn't even need a list. He's got his own freaking list. He already knows what he's going to do. He also knows whether he likes to change diapers or not, and he does it even though he fucking hates it, right? But he's not looking for the next brass ring to be able to get a kiss, right? He's just running his own life.
I feel cared about as you say that. And I can just feel my heart soften where it's like, oh, someone wants to care for me, wants to take care of me. You know, as a strong, independent woman, it's really hard for me to ask for help for all those things. And when someone actually wants to, right, and knows and is tracking what's happening, then there's also a way that I can feel safe. So then I can start to relax and not think I have to be in control all the time.
And it sounds like you guys are saying his want to needs to be communicated through his actions, not through words. He doesn't need to be whining and complaining. He demonstrates his want to by who he's being, not what he's doing.
I think there can be some of both. I was just thinking the difference, right, between like, I want to help you, but you're not letting me, versus like, sweetheart, I really want to help you. Like, I want to take this off your plate. There's a whole difference in tone there too.
I think
that's cool. That's a good distinction.
Maybe maybe a little bit in there as to, in the moment. Like so we'd already organized for you to do that stuff and me to do this stuff, but I can see some things like you're struggling with what's going on right there, or, we'll just do something. I've just done that thing, even though it wasn't on my list to do, because I could see that actually it was going to help you with what's going on today, like where you are today.
Just having him pay attention and notice and be curious about it, and have it matter if I'm struggling, and to be proactive about it, whether it is taking care of something that's on my plate, or saying, hey, pause for just a moment. It seems like you're overwhelmed right now. Like, do you know I've got your back? Or do you know that like what can I do? I'm gonna help you with this. You are not alone in this. If a man can see through whatever I'm doing, not wait for me to hand him chores, and stop me and see into me and see through my harriedness and care that I'm anxious or I'm frustrated or I'm overwhelmed, and just be like, this matters to me and I'm right here. I get you're having a hard time and I'm right here. What are we going to do? And maybe it's running an errand for me, and maybe it's throwing me down on the bed.
Okay, before we move on to the next one.
I was just going to do that. Yeah, it's 11:58.
Check my child, because he came in and is not happy. And hold on, let me just go navigate that.
I was going to offer that we've covered a lot of ground so far. This part Dan can edit out, and I can go right to wrapping this up, and maybe with final thoughts, because we have 2 more questions that could take us 20 more minutes, and that's a long video anyway. Maybe we do those in another video.
Yeah.
Dan, what do you
Okay,
think?
let me just go set up Ari for a couple more minutes, and then we could wrap up.
In the energy with which you and Alexis just ended was really, really good. That's a good spot, nice, especially that. Did you feel the same thing? That last thing was really good. And I thought, wow, we should just stop there and not try to improve on it. Yeah, we're on the same page. Yeah.
This was fun.
Yeah, it's a nice dynamic. I think
I love the way you get down to some very root stuff, Alexis. I mean, the thing that, and I even put words in there and you picked them up right away. Earn her attention. Like, wait a minute, earn, the word earn, right? Which is like get or persuade or convince, right? All those words that men use, they don't see the toxicity in them. They don't see the dysfunction in them. And you get them right away and you just go right to it. And I think it's so cool.
I realized I wished I had paused to ask, because you were like, what's the one thing? And I didn't have a one thing, but it was clear you had a one thing.
No, I didn't. I'm playing the dummy, right? I just want, if I don't have to earn it, then what do I got to do? And it's a complex answer, because, of course, I won't even go into it. The answer is complex, because we like things simple. I do this, I get that. I do this, I make money.
I
I
feel
do
like
this, I
that
get it.
feels like a trap in a way. Like you ask these questions and then I'm like, right, because the perspectives are so different that somehow I'm like, I don't even know what I just said. I don't think it made any sense. I don't even know if it mattered, but like, right, it's confusing in that way.
Oh, we're trying to help guys see that when they're asking what they think are rational questions, like how do I persuade her? How do I convince her? How do I earn
Yeah.
her attention? That they're living on a different planet. They
Yeah.
have to get used to the fact that there is another planet of thought, the feminine thought, that when you say earn, convince, persuade, you're shutting down already even before their sentence is over.
Right.
It's like earning my attention isn't a thing. And this is what we want. That's why we go deeper than most. We like guys to understand that
Yeah.
and then help them know if that's not the thing, what is the thing?
Right.
And that's the whole coaching process.
Right. And then I think it's like, I think the way I know how to do it best is like being there with you in the moment. And then sometimes the words are like, oh,
No,
yeah.
you hit every word just right. The deck of
Oh,
cards
you're
things with the
sweet.
scarcity thing, right? It was good. So how about we wind up? How about I just take us out of here and then can each of you think of one final thought of hope for men? I used the
Mm.
word hope earlier. If you had one piece of wisdom or guidance to give them when it comes to achieving a more sexual connection, what's one hopeful, wise thing you could say? Right, you're the wisdom in the room. So I'll bring you on, and then we'll say goodbye. Okay, I'll do it. Tim Wade always has me go with the sound. We're going to wrap it up there because we just covered a ton of ground. We went into a lot of complex thinking. You're starting to see there may be two different planets of thinking here. And this is what coaching is all about, you guys. When you hear something that doesn't sound familiar, but it sounds curious and you want to know more, this is what we do in all of our coaching forums, whether it's one-on-one or the roundtable or the divorce bomb course, whatever, we go deeper. So these ladies have brought to you some wisdom that maybe you weren't prepared to hear. And what I'd like to ask each of you, Shana and Alexis, is what's one thought or one word of wisdom you might share with guys in the realm of improving their sex life? Shana.
You want me to start? Well, okay. The thought that comes to me is that nothing you want, right? No desire you have is bad or wrong. And when you start to recognize that, like, oh, it might not be compatible with the woman who I'm with right now, or I might just not have inspired her, or I might not have helped her feel safe, about that desire, but that it's not wrong or bad. And so when you actually recognize, like, oh, I don't have to defend or protect or prove myself, I am like, I right. And kind of like we said in the beginning, it's not like, a woman doesn't want to be your mommy, right? Like we want to have this collaborative, mature connection. And so when you let go of needing to prove yourself and you get like, oh, everything in here is good and right. It's just about connection, collaboration, creating something together. It really just shifts the dynamic. So I want to bring you that sense of hope.
Let go of needing to prove yourself.
Yeah, and that you're
Nothing.
like nothing is bad or wrong.
Yeah.
It's just a matter. It might be a different person, or it might be a different moment, or it might be that you haven't really gone to the depth of whether it's vulnerability or inspiration to like really connect with your partner to help her understand why something is meaningful for you, why you want it, why it's exciting.
Thank you, Shana. Great. Alexis, take us out.
You asked me the question again.
What's one word of wisdom or thought or insight that you think can give men hope who are trying to improve their sexuality, their feeling of strength in their sex life? From everything we've talked about today, what hope is there for men that you have to offer?
To know that however the woman in your life is responding right now, like that woman or women, the world, that she needs your love. She needs your turn on. You have gifts to give, and own it. The more you just own what your heart wants and what your body wants without apology, the more it will serve the woman in your life.
Mm.
I guarantee that's what we want, even if we don't know that we want it yet.
I love that. Even if we don't know that we want it.
Yeah. And that's the very, very a beautiful answer to the question guys have. The last yeah, but is, how can I possibly improve my sex life by focusing on me? Because isn't this a 50-50? No, so you just answered the question. If you can focus on that truth that both of you just articulated about a man's value and about when he shows up in his wholeness and when he knows he's good enough, by focusing on that, it automatically has an energetic impact on the sensual relationship.
And then there's that balance, the curiosity about her, right? Like, what does she actually like and want? And have you asked her recently? And, and then we could go into more detail about how you do that, right? Which is what the coaching is. But I love that, right? The knowing yourself and then getting really curious to discover who she is moment to moment, day to day, because we are always changing as feminine creatures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in this video, we're going to have a description and some tags down there. We want you guys to know how to get in touch with these ladies if you want to talk to them personally as a client, have a consultation call. There's all kinds of value they can bring to your life. So look down in the description so you can get those tags and get the links to carry on the conversation. We'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.